Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to just give it a few minutes for everyone to join. I know sometimes Zoom makes you update your software and whatnot. My name is Mario Ubalde. I'm the Director of Customer Success for SizeUp, and I will let you know when we're getting started, and then we will begin with some opening comments. Okay. It looks like our participant list has leveled out. So it looks like everyone is in now. Again, we will be recording this for people who are unable to attend today, but this should be a very interactive session. You'll note that there's Q&A and chat messages. Myself and all of the panelists can respond to those. This should be interactive, so I'll do my best to answer your questions in real time. And if it's a fantastic question, I promise that we'll save it to the end because we've allowed time for Q&A. So without any further delays, I wanted to go ahead and introduce Nathan Tavoya, who's the director for the Mount Pleasant EDC, who will start us off with some opening remarks. Nathan?
Hi. I don't have a ton of remarks, but just to, I'm sure Richard's going to say the same thing, but just wanted to let any aspiring entrepreneurs know that the Chamber Economic Development Corporation here in Mount Pleasant is working together, working really hard to provide as many resources and data sets and manpower, brain power for you to be successful here in our community. So we are co-located together. We're even conveniently found. So that's a great thing as well. Richard's our Chamber of Commerce CEO and president. I'll give the mic to him.
Thanks, Nathan. No, I appreciate everyone being here. Like Nathan said, this is great for us to come together. That's what the Chamber of Commerce and the EDC is about, coming together to pull our resources and opportunities together to provide the tools and programming necessary for our businesses to succeed. And what we're going to talk about today is just that, another tool to help businesses grow, to give them the data they need to succeed their goals and enhance our community, enhance our business community. So we're excited and grateful for everyone being here.
Great. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much, Nathan. So once again, greetings from Austin, Texas. My name is Mario Ubalde. I'm the Director of Customer Success. And before I get started with the demo, I want to provide a little bit of context. So the tool that you're going to see, SizeUp Mount Pleasant, it is the same type of information that your big businesses use to optimize their business decision-making. Your McDonald's, your Starbucks, your Walmart, your Amazons. The difference is they either have in-house analysts that they pay six-figure salaries and benefits to, or, depending on what their different use cases, they might go to the Deloittes or the McKinseys of the world and pay them millions of dollars for this type of information. What you're going to see is the same information, but there's a couple of very significant differences. One, it's designed to be simple to use. You don't have to have an MBA or a degree in quantitative statistics in order to use the tool. We've made it as simple as possible. Two, we recognize that businesses are really hard to run. And at the time when a lot of people would engage in this type of information, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you're busy running your business. So this tool is available 24/7 on the internet to help start you on that journey. And then as you move forward, you can obviously reach out to the Chamber and the EDC, the SBDC, your partners in your area, to get additional help, advice, and collaboration. The third and most probably important thing is that it is going to give you the information contextual to your business. This is not generic analysis. This is about you, your business, in your location, your trade area, your marketing plan. So I'm really excited to show this to you. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do and why we're doing it by sharing this PowerPoint with you. Promise not too many slides. This is a live demo. But what we want to talk about is what's happening coming out of the pandemic. You can see that these are the trends on business starts. And what we thought here in this little dip was going to be the start of a trend was actually the reverse. You can see that there is a surge in entrepreneurship that we have never seen before in the United States. It is unprecedented. And the reason that SizeUp is so important is there are certain businesses that are going to fail. It is the nature of the business. It's the wrong business at the wrong time. You think that you're going to want to do movie and DVD rentals, but instead people are subscribing to Netflix or Disney Plus. But of the businesses that do fail, what we found is about 2/3 fail, not because of the idea or the execution of the business, but it's actually because they didn't have enough information to make well-informed decisions and to plan properly. SizeUp is designed to answer the questions that can help those 2/3 of businesses succeed into past their first year and well on past their 5th year. So without any further delays, now that context is there, I want to go ahead and share with you the tool. It's on the Mount Pleasant website. I'm sure that you can find it, but if you haven't, it's going to be right under here under doing business, small business and entrepreneurship, and then you'll click here to get to the application. Now, as I mentioned, this is designed to be very simple to use. The only thing you need to know is what business you're in and where you are thinking about doing business for the entrepreneur, or where your existing business is for someone who is analyzing their current. So let's go ahead and we could look at coffee shops. We could look at burger restaurants. We can look at any industry category. Just to start the demonstration, I want to focus on a retail example because that's something that's generally familiar with everyone. So we can go ahead and you can see we can choose different places within the region if you want to benchmark against different locations. But for right now, let's just go ahead and start with burger restaurants. So right from the beginning, SizeUp's going to ask you a few questions. What is your revenue for an existing business? Or what do you think your revenue would be for an entrepreneur? So we might guess that $750,000 seems like a lot of money. It actually turns out that the average burger joint in Mount Pleasant is making almost $1.25 million, slightly higher than the county, slightly lower than the region. So even from the beginning, you can start to help understand what the average business in your industry might be. You may also want to understand what the trends are within a business. So as I mentioned, if you're thinking about opening up a DVD, or video rental service, you might see trends that just show a line cascading all the way down from the left to the right as all of those Hollywood videos, blockbusters close down. These are going to show you the trends across the nation, or if you don't consider yourself a national competitor, you could look at it as a state or even the metro county area. Very helpful to see those trends. We can also look at salaries. I think we can all agree that $20,000 may not seem like a lot of money, but it's a very competitive salary in this industry. And you can even see areas, counties where you'd expect to pay a little bit more and pay a little bit less. Now, I think we can all agree that 10 people is a small business. It actually turns out that's a very, very small hamburger joint. So you can see that the average hamburger joint in the city is 29 people. So you're about 1/3 the size of an average burger joint. Now, why does this matter? Because we want to provide context to you. So previously we saw a business that was making $750,000. The average is making $1.25 million. But we can triangulate through data and understand that actually your business is superior. You're making 102% in terms of cost effectiveness based on the amount of employees you have and the income that you're generating. So you can see this information and find out that if you had 10 employees and maybe you're losing one a year and you're really frustrated by that, you think that you have to recruit, retrain that person, it's actually a testament to the quality of your business, of your compensation, because objectively you should be losing about 2 people. So you can look at local turnover, and you can also look at data that's sometimes obscure to small businesses because you don't have a dedicated HR group. So you may want to consider what the healthcare costs are for your industry, or perhaps even workers' compensation. And the nice thing at the end of it is we have a summary view. So if we go back to summary view, we get a dashboard of all of the key performance indicators of our business. So we can see how you fare in terms of revenue, when businesses are starting, salary, number of employees. The nice thing about this is if you are an entrepreneur and you're doing scenarios, or perhaps you're planning expansion, you can come in here and go, you know what? I actually want to see, I was thinking about a burger restaurant, but let me see what the benchmarks are for all restaurants. So we could go ahead and look at restaurants. We know that burgers are making about $1.25 million. Now we're looking at all of the restaurants. So we can actually see that there's more money specifically in burgers than everything from fine dining to your taco truck. Or we can delve deeper. We could look at Italian restaurants. Or if you really want to go even deeper, you can look at pizza. So SizeUp will support your analysis as broad or as deep as you want to go. So we have now just learned there's more money in burgers than there is in fettuccine Alfredo or your pepperoni slice. So as I mentioned, there are hundreds, actually thousands of categories, and this can work for everything from a retail store to manufacturing to professional services. And we'll cover that, but I wanted to show you this particular information. One of the things that we really understand is that you do operate in a mixed world, both online and offline, and we're going to provide you with the ability to collaborate effectively with your partners. You're going to notice that there's a print report button right here. All of this information has been formatted for online, but if you need to work with your partners, if you need to prepare a loan application, work with the SBA, work with the library, we can go ahead and click that button and it will take all the information that was online, reformat it for you so you can use this with Word, Excel, whatever it may be. And here's the beauty of this. When you pass this on to your accountant or your attorney or your business partners or your investors, we're going to give you a QR code that you can hold up to your webcam or film on your camera or iPad. It will bring you back into the application so you can run different scenarios on your tool. So this is the first of 4 modules in SizeUp Mount Pleasant, and it's designed to help you understand objectively how your existing business or your prospective business that you're thinking of starting up will perform against its industry peers. So I'm going to pause there and check chat and Q&A to see if there are any questions about this. And if I don't see any, I don't at this time, I'm going to move on to the second module. Again, this should be interactive. Feel free to ask us questions at any time. So this is the competition tool. So the competition tool is designed to help you understand the spatial relationships and characteristics of your entire ecosystem, your competitors, your customers or potential customers, and then also your supply chain. So I was using an example of like a retail store because most of us purchased a slice of pizza or bought a cup of coffee or a burger. Here I'd like to focus more, instead of a B2C or business to consumer example, on a business to business or B2B example. So I know that, let's be honest, housing has been booming, right? So let's say that we were a carpenter and we wanted to know where all the other carpenters are that we're competing against. We can actually go ahead and list this, and we can go out as far or as wide as we want. Now in carpentry, there's all sorts of different types. There's frame carpenters who actually build the frames that the houses are built on. There are also finishers carpenters. So they're building the cabinets, the closets, and things of that nature. For this example, let's pretend that we're a finish carpenter, and we might be working with construction companies, right? They are our customers. So we could look at single family home construction, or as you know, in law offices and things of that nature, they need cabinets and bookshelves and things of that nature. So we might also be working in other construction categories. So we could look at, say, commercial and office building construction. And so now what you've seen is we have a list of all of these companies in construction that we might be interested in working with. And we can find out more information about them. So if this is a potential prospect list, you're not just limited to understanding that, where they're located. You can also see their website, how long they've been in business, whether they're publicly owned or they're privately held, additional information that you can understand to generate that call list, to turn a cold call into a warm lead, because you're going to be informed about the type of services that they have and whether it's a matchup for what you do as a carpenter. The other thing that you can do is you can look at your supply chain. So perhaps you're working on smaller projects. Maybe you need to get your lumber and you can just get it from hardware stores. So we could go ahead and map all of the hardware stores. So these are going to be the Harbor Freights and the True Values and the Home Depot and the Lowe's. Maybe you're working on really big projects. That's okay. SizeUp's going to support you as well. So you just go ahead and click on the Industries tab here, and then you can actually look at lumber wholesalers, and we'll map those businesses for you too and add it to the list. Similar to the other tool, we can go ahead and click that print report button, and it's going to generate all this information that you had here, and it's going to turn it into a paper format that you can then leverage using other tools. So you'll see this information right here, and you can see the competitors report, both your competitors, your potential customers, existing customers, and your supply chain. Now, the nice thing about this is you may be thinking, oh, you know what? I have an account with Home Depot or Lowe's or True Value. You certainly can map the industries, but we also have this really great function where you can search for an existing business that you are targeting. So maybe you're looking and you have an account with Lowe's. So you can go ahead and search for Lowe's, and then you can pin that location. So you see that here's your information, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. And then you can go ahead and look at Lowe's and pin that business. Or perhaps there's another business that you work with, like lumber mill work and plywood. It doesn't matter where it is, you can go ahead and search for it, and then you can zoom the map out, and you'll see that it will pin the location for that key supplier, customer, whatever it may be. The analysis must start within the project territory, but it can extend to whatever you think your trade area is, your marketing area, whatever it may be. So you can see that information right there. Let me go ahead and check for questions on this tool. Then what I'm going to do now is I just want to show you a very cool feature. I know we switched to B2B, but I also want to show you a really valuable tool for your consumer-facing industries. So let's go ahead. Let's go back to, how about coffee shops? As a father of a 9 and a 4-year-old, I can never get enough coffee, and I'm always looking for this. But what I might want to know is, where are consumers spending that money? And so you can see there's a really cool tool here called consumer spending. Similar to the business categories, you can go as broad or as deep as you want. So we're looking at all food and beverages expenses. We could look at food away from home, right? And we can zoom in and see it by zip code. And then we could even go ahead and look at snacks and non-alcoholic beverages. So this is a tool that we can use here that shows it down to the zip code level. I'm not going to spend a lot of time for this because there is an even more powerful tool where we can go down to the census block group. But I did want you to see that it was available here if you wanted to overlay this information with the competitor tool. Okay. So I didn't see any additional questions. So I want to kind of just recap what we've done. So we looked at benchmarking from a business to consumer example, and now we looked at competition, understanding the entire geospatial reference points for your entire ecosystem. Now we're going to look at advertising. And for advertising, I want to focus on something that is used a lot for these local businesses. So let's look at dentists. I don't know about you, but if you've gone to HEB lately and you get those receipts, those coupons on the back are dentists. I think it's because the credit card companies are tracking my daughter's cavities, because that stuff's in real time now. It's pretty amazing. But you know that a lot of professional services, whether it's dentists or plumbers, attorneys, they advertise this way because it's still very much a local business. But the nice thing about SizeUp is it's going to help you identify the characteristics and the best place to optimize your dollar spend, both online and offline. So let me take you through a use case. As I mentioned, I have 2 daughters. I'm not bragging. I'm just trying to provide some context for this example. My daughter's deathly afraid of going to the dentist. So we travel a little bit farther to see a dentist who does nitrous oxide and also has TVs on the ceiling so they can just watch their My Little Pony while they're getting their dental work done. So we can adjust the analysis based on how far you think your trade area is. So let's say that because this dentist has a different value proposition, you're willing to go 40 miles away. The other thing that we can do is targeted. So I know our dentist charges a little bit more because he has services and features that other people don't. So he might target a higher household income, let's say $40,000. And what you'll see is the zip codes that match the criteria will update in real time. So before we were looking at 2 pages of information, now we're going to even highlight more. So let's go to the median age. It's a dentist. Let's make sure you're old enough to have teeth, not so old that you don't have any. So we'll drop it down to say about 45. Okay, we went with 44. I'm feeling young. And now you'll see, instead of having over 20, these are the zip codes that match your criteria. So it's not just Mount Pleasant, it's Mount Pleasant 75455 or Sulphur Springs or Gilmore. These are the areas that match what we call the Jerry Maguire type of analysis. That is total revenue. These are the zip codes where the most amount of money is being spent. A perfectly great way to understand advertising. Show me where the money is being spent. But let's say that you were opening up a dental clinic and you're new. You're trying to identify areas that may be underserved. So this is where there's a discrepancy between the amount of revenue coming in and the even higher amount of household expenditures. So on this drop-down list here, we can actually go to underserved markets. And now it's going to create an entirely different set of zip codes, which are areas where people are spending more money, but not necessarily where they live. So different types of analysis for different types of marketing plans. Now, this isn't just limited to consumers. Let's go back to the, you know what, we'll leave carpenters alone and we'll go to plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. So here you can see the filters were focused on consumers. Maybe you're trying to identify companies that are smaller, right? You're a smaller plumber, so you're not going to go work necessarily with some of these really large home builders, but you might want to work with some of the boutique firms. So you could focus on companies with, say, less than 50 employees, or you might want to focus on revenue under $50 million. So you can also customize this analysis and then advertise in trade journals or LinkedIn, as opposed to the consumer option where you might put in these exact characteristics, right, into your report and then advertise on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, things of that nature. And again, same thing's going to happen here. We're going to put in all of the information that you need along with your filters and then show you that information. So if you're working with, say, an advertising company that does your ad buys on Google AdWords or Facebook or whatever, you can hand them this information and you can know that each dollar you're going to be spent is going to be spent wisely because you're optimizing the value. Now, this is, as I mentioned, not just for online advertising. If you know that there are places here that match the criteria that you're interested in, you may know that there's bus routes or billboards or community newspapers or whatever it is. You can take this information, you can target these zip codes. One thing I do want to mention is a lot of you may think that you own a small business and that you're serving local customers. If we've seen anything during this pandemic, some of you might be exporting to all 50 states. As I mentioned, the analysis has to start, but let me take you through a real example. We have a customer who has a lot of jewelry manufacturers now, but they're doing it at home. They've opened up Etsy stores, eBay, and otherwise. And so they thought that they were limited to advertising in Montana, but we've now gotten rid of that limitation. So if you want to find underserved markets for jewelry, or you're making handcrafted goods, you can actually slide to nationwide, and you're no longer just marketing to East Texas or Texas. You're also marketing to Jeffersonville, Indiana, Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, El Monte, California. You get the idea. The analysis is based on what you think your market area is, and SizeUp's going to give you that answer. So this is the third tool in SizeUp Mount Pleasant. I'm going to pause and see if there are any additional questions. Seeing none, I will go ahead and move to the final tool. So this is the demographics tool. I want to be clear with you that this is probably the most powerful part of this tool for really deep analysis. And it's also the one that you have to think about a little bit more carefully. So I think you're familiar with kind of the analysis around a place. So we could go to the city. And we could go ahead and put in Titus and do a demographic overview. And you're going to see current year and then 5-year projections. These are going to be updated shortly for 2021 and 2026 projections. And you've seen this type of information by age, by race. You've probably also seen reports in the news where you enter an address, something along those lines. And again, it can be any area so we could go out to Tyler, or we could be in Mount Pleasant or wherever, and we can do a very specific demographic overview. So we're showing you, 20 miles around here, or I'm going to choose a different address here. So many to choose from. And we could do drive time analysis, right? So it just depends on what you want to do, but you're familiar with these. So I want to show you something a little bit different. So if you're really confident that you understand your trade area or labor shed, you can actually use this within a boundary tool and know that you think that you can, say, attract a workforce around this area. Maybe there's construction over here. We want to avoid the 30 over that section, and you can create this shape right here. And you see we can do this for labor force because you are a home builder and you need to know where the talented workforce is. So you want to find out that within this shape, this is not generic analysis, there are 11,532 businesses employing 122,954 workers. You can see there are all sorts of categories here for the businesses, but we're interested in the employees. We want to understand our labor shed. So we can look at it at a high level saying, hey, this is construction, or we can even go even further than looking not just at the 9,082 construction workers, 7.39% of the total workforce. We can say, I'm actually interested in heavy construction or general construction. So show me where those 1,768 workers are. And let's do something even a little bit cooler here. Let's go ahead and dive in. So we were seeing it at the county level. I'm going to dive in a little bit more, and we're going to look at it at zip code. So now we're seeing, in terms of total numbers, there's about 138 to 207 construction workers right here. There's 69 to 138 over here, but I really want to target my recruiting. So I'm going to go in even, so I want to understand not just aggregate numbers, but where's the concentration? So you notice that there's a toggle here. So we're showing you aggregate numbers of employees, but if you want to know where the concentration is, guess what? There's a higher percentage, about 12 to 15% of the people who work or live in this area are in construction. So different ways, do you want the highest percentage or do you want the highest number? And I'm showing you zip code. And remember, I said I'm not going to focus too much on that mapping tool in the competition tool. I want to show you by block group, because now what you're seeing, I'm going to go here to totals. So now what you're seeing is this individual neighborhood information. So each of these outlines is showing you exactly within this neighborhood here, what percentage of people total. So there's 53 to 106 here, and you can look at this for any category. So let me go ahead and do a different type of analysis now, because I really want to target this corridor. And I'm going to go ahead and look at consumer expenditures. And maybe, as I said, I am in a restaurant business. So I could look at household operations or personal care if I was in a barber shop or a salon, any categories you're interested in, selling new cars, selling used cars. So we can go ahead and look at any of these categories, turn on, and I'm just going to get here, there we go. So let's look at food away from home. Where are people eating out? So I'm going to turn that category, and you're going to see that in this area here, they're spending about 5.3 to $7.1 million. And in this area over here, 1.8 to 3.5. That's how much money is coming into the businesses in those areas. And then if you click household averages, you can see then that this area down here, These households are spending about $3,600 to $4,800 per year. The households in this particular shape right here, about $2,400 to $3,600. So the level of analysis is almost at the neighborhood level. Again, we always respect people's privacy, and you have to do one variable at a time. Otherwise, you'd be looking for African-American women over 60 who are trillionaires, and Oprah's house would pop out and she'd feel like her privacy had been taken over. But you can turn on each demographic, labor force, consumer expenditure characteristics, and dive in at the neighborhood level to see the type of characteristics that you're looking for. This is the same thing within a given city. So if we're looking at Mount Pleasant, and let's say that we were running a woman's shoe store, the things that I'd probably be interested in are show me where the majority of women are located. And again, we could, if we were focusing on a women's shoe store for people who are ending the career, we could look at 20 to 40-year-olds. All of this is available, super crunched in a matter of seconds based on the unique characteristics, the business plan, the marketing plan, the use case for your business. Whether it's B2B or B2C, SizeUp's going to generate the answers to your questions. So that is a quick overview. We always want to leave time for Q&A. So unless there are any questions specifically about the demographics module, I'm going to check my chat and QA logs and see what questions you have. Okay, thank you. That's a great question. So there's a question about how frequently this information is updated. So that's a great question. I'm glad you saved it for the end because it deserves some discussion. So there's hundreds of different data sets in SizeUp. I'm just going to take you through a couple of them, and then I actually will, and I hate to do it, but I'm going to switch to PowerPoint just so I can show you some of this information. So all of the information that you're seeing here is updated. This is what we call firmographic or business information. This is updated every 3 months. So as new businesses start, as other businesses close, you'll be able to go into any of these categories and see the information. And I actually went to coffee roasting, and you can see Coca-Cola sells roasted coffee. So they're listed there. And that's one of the things that I want to point out is not only is the information updated every 3 months, the breadth of the information is also updated. So as businesses enter or exit certain industry categories, they can be listed in up to 6, I had to pull my other hand up into the window, categories. So imagine, if you will, that you have a large home builder supply, and they sell lumber, they may sell even finished cabinets, they might sell nails, pipes, whatever it is. They can be listed up into 4 categories. This is also crucial for your Main Street businesses. Imagine if you had a women's boutique and you're selling clothing, but then you open up maybe a salon chair for blowouts or makeup, or you add shoes or jewelry. The categories, the income, all of that information for businesses is updated every 3 months or quarterly. So it behooves you to revisit the application, see if your ranking has changed or the trends in your industry have changed. For consumer expenditures, like right here, that information is updated every 6 months. So in the summer and in the winter time. And then there are a couple, well, there's quite a few other data points. So I'm going to pause for a second and switch back to my PowerPoint. And we'll talk about this a little bit more just so I can be thorough in terms of how we discuss the data. So Richard and Nathan, are you seeing my PowerPoint? Just a quick, great, thank you. So SizeUp combines hundreds of different data sets, both public and private. So you can kind of think of it as being in buckets. There's demographic information, there's industry information. So if we look at that, we can kind of put it in buckets and go, well, where does this information come from? So demographic comes from US Census. Bureau of Labor Statistics helps with some of our wage information. A lot of these are updated annually or as frequently as the federal government can do so. Some of the information comes from public sources and is a mixture of private sources. So as you know, anyone who's gotten a home loan anytime recently, you know, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax know more about how I spend my money more than I think I do. So we take that information along with federal business filings, professional licenses, county courthouse filings. For public entities, that are traded on the stock market, we have their annual reports. So over 14 million business data points across the US to help with your analysis. So some of the information we have is proprietary because we have our own data scientists who are helping us crunch this information. And we use Google Maps as the display layer. So the answer is every 3 months, please do come back and visit the tool. It's going to be updated. And if you have other questions, there's support in the tool that you can access and then ask additional questions, and we're happy to answer them for you.
So Mario, if there's not another question real quick, I had one question. If they wanted to come back in 3 months from now or 6 months, you know, they had to put the project aside and they're like, you know what, I need to start in 6 months. I had a baby or something, I don't know. Mm-hmm. They can use the QR code on the back on their report to kind of come back, and it's auto filtered for where they left off.
Right. So now, obviously, the rankings may change, as we've experienced during the pandemic. You know, you may be making less revenue, but in terms of your ranking versus your competitors, you might be going up, or vice versa. I can tell you in car sales right now, you know, they've exploded. So you might be making millions of more, but your competitors are also. So they can come back every 3 months. They can use the QR code. You can also export those reports if you want to do some sort of analysis. We have some additional features that are coming up in probably Q1 of next year where they can subscribe and then they can be sent alerts. And that's one of the things I should point out. We absolutely respect your privacy. There is none of this information is shared with anyone else. Joe's Coffee Shop is not going to share information with Fred's Coffee Shop. This is your information for your business. If anyone's sharing it, it's going to be you because we gave you the tools to do so. But your privacy is guaranteed, and that's also part of the application. There was one other question about traffic counts. That is not something that we're focused on right now, but I believe, Nathan, that you do have another tool by a company called GIS Planning that does, I believe, have that on their, as a selectable layer on their GIS-based maps.
And we also track it, and we have documents in other parts of our website. You can just search our website for things like that as well. But and that leads me to another point, like combining data. Mara, so I hate doing this to you. So when you hit coffee shops, we know that there was one, maybe there was a Hebrews, and we also have a Starbucks, and it didn't show up in that drop down. And some of that I think could be to how they're classifying themselves. So I'm curious when it comes to competitors, which is an important part of kind of business intelligence. When you're starting a company, you want to know who else am I competing with? What's the saturation? What are things they could do? I mean, even as simple as going to Google and typing in something, or like, are there things that they could do to supplement data? Because data, it's important to have multiple sources, I feel like, and have starts, but have different inputs. And the traffic count question got me started on that, but just.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm going to answer this question two ways. So one, I want to be very transparent here. We work with multiple data partners. Due to licensing issues, I can't always name names, but what I will say is we use the same base level data that's used by Google Maps, Yelp, Apple Maps. So if there's any information that you want updated, you can send an email to support@sizeup.com. We will update it with our partners, and that will also help your business with those other again, baseline data. Now, we don't have billions of dollars, so we're not sending cars around with the LiDAR and the radar and doing all that stuff, but it will help with your listings. The other thing is we recognize that you need to define your industry. So here we are with coffee shops. I don't know about you, but I get my coffee from a diner that was between work and home, when I used to actually get in a car and go someplace other than to pick up. So you can add diners in. The same way I showed with customers, where you can also look at cafes. So it depends on what your purpose is. If you're just a coffee shop where you're quite literally just selling coffee and tea, or maybe you actually want to look at tea. So you can put in coffee and tea houses, or even just tea rooms if people are trying to be a little healthier. So you define what you think your industry competitors are, or your customers. And so we can add all of those in, as many as you want. So you've added cafes, diners, tea rooms in. Same thing happens when you're putting your customer list together. Let's say that you're an accountant and you service like that's your focus. You service, say, construction companies. You can enter just plain English, all of the construction categories that you want. So maybe you're doing heavy construction, maybe you're doing railroad, maybe you're doing, masons. You can define how many businesses you want in that list of analysis, and then you can export it. So yes, it's possible that something may be listed as a cafe because they sell food. It's going to be based on the percentage of revenue that they generate from, say, drinks versus food or the combination therein. So don't hesitate. Nathan can tell you he invested in an all-you-can-eat tool, so you can add or subtract as many industries as suits your business plan, your marketing plan, or your analysis.
And that actually really is an important part of putting a business plan together, is finding immediate direct competitors and then indirect competitors. So when you're talking about cafe, like thinking about other search terms that you would use in a regular search engine, like to help within the tool. And I liked how you were able to build it, and then you can get rid of like tea room or whatever. You could build all the near adjacent competitors to what you're doing. So that's also important.
And the nice thing about this is, again, the analysis can extend, as far out as you want. Just as an example, I traveled for the first time during the pandemic to meet with our engineering team who are in the Dallas DFW Metroplex area. And I discovered that there's a pizza place there called, let me get rid of some of these, Cane Rosso. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It's Neapolitan style pizza, like wood-fired oven, but with a Texas slant. So they have bacon marmalade as a topping, and they have brisket as a topping. And so the nice thing about this is we could look at pizza, but if we're trying to identify, maybe we say, oh, this is a great concept, but I'd like to try it in our county. You can actually go ahead and put in, there we go. So the nearest one is in McKinney, and you can see you can go ahead and bookmark that business and understand that there's maybe a need that isn't being fulfilled here, because who doesn't want brisket on pizza? Now that I've tried it, I can say that more confidently. But the idea is you can also zoom out. So, and I'll be honest, at a certain point, you'll zoom out, it'll just be an orange blob, right? Because there's lots of pizza restaurants. But the analysis has to start within your service area, but it can extend out to whatever you think it is at whatever industry level that you want. So don't be shy about trying new levels. And then you can focus on what you think the trade area is that best represents your particular business or service offering.
Yeah. And I mean, and could you speak to any sort of, I know SizeUp has some partnerships and how it's used. I'm just thinking from a validation standpoint, the SBA, you guys, there's awards you guys have won and that sort of thing. And just, can you speak to that at all?
Well, that's very kind to talk about. So we have won quite a few awards, but we can talk about them. Some fintech awards. What I'd like to focus on the value that it has for you. We've designed our application to work in a process that's going to be very similar. If you're applying for an SBA loan, we're going to have a lot of the key metrics that they're going to look for, or key data points. Because they're going to want to understand market penetration. I'll show you one of the things that I think is really important, especially if you're dealing with an investors group. So let's go back to the coffee shop as an example. And let me also share my screen with you, so you can actually see what I'm showing. So, a lot of people, whatever it may be, they may think, oh, you're a small business. But let's say that you are a larger coffee shop, because there is a fantastic market penetration in your area. You can actually go, sorry, I accidentally hit. There we go. I'm sorry, I forgot the example that I was using. So let's say that you are, oops, need more coffee. So let's say that you are a burger restaurant. And as I mentioned, your revenue may seem less than normal, right? It's $500,000 instead of 1.25. But if you actually have 10 employees, as opposed to the average of almost 30, this gets to the issue of cost effectiveness. So you're 34% above average. So you're really primed to expand because you have a business model. You've been in business 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. This is the time where they're going to want to show see that information. And it depends on the type of industry that you're in. They may also want to evaluate trends so that you can help understand. Let's go to, why not? Let's go to beauty salons. So I'm going to go to year started, and what you're going to see is you think, whatever, with all these fancy beauty salons, maybe people think that there isn't the opportunity, but here's the trends in beauty salons within your city, county, and metro area. Now, what happened here? The pandemic, right? People are doing their hair at home, but you can see the direction the trend was headed in pre-pandemic, and you can guess the direction that the trend is going to go in after the pandemic is concluded. So these are the type of things where you may want to pivot or shift. So we're looking at beauty salons. Maybe as people were, we've seen this, maybe as people were doing things at home, they still had to get supplies. So that's where you pivot and use some of your floor space instead of chairs. You put in some shelves and you're selling beauty supplies at the time. So these type of trends, you can come in here and then switch from beauty salons to beauty shops. And then you can see the various trends in adjacent industries. And do you see what just happened here? So while salons may have been going down, beauty shops are going up. Why? Because people were buying product to use at home. Nathan and me weren't that concerned about it, but for those of you like Richard with wonderful coiffes, he knew where to get his product. So you get the idea. A lot of the information that you're going to be using is going to come from your experience as an owner operator or as partner of partnership. So you can look at adjacent businesses to understand where the trends are changing relative to one another, and then make more optimal decisions in what you want to carry. So I hope that kind of answers the question. But again, a lot of it's going to be playing with the tool. You notice we don't have, there's a question right there. So we don't have NAICS or SIC codes. The reason why is we've done analysis, 95% of businesses don't know what their NAICS or SIC code is. They know, for instance, I know I'm a software publisher, right? We make software. I only, when I was doing some work, I'm 511210. But I'm in the industry and I didn't know this until I was forced to put it on a file. So you notice that everything's in plain English. If you're selling cars, it's okay. We have heuristics. It'll find automobile and vehicle and motorcycle. Just type in plain English what you're interested in and then dive in. And you're gonna find that match to your experience as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And when that resonates with you, then extend your analysis appropriately. I don't see any other open questions. Anything that you guys would like to share?
No, I'm good on my end. I think Richard's shaking his head.
This is amazing. What a great tool for our community. And this is awesome. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Well, then I'm not shy about giving everyone 9 minutes back in their day. Thank you so much for investing your time learning more about SizeUp. I do want to point out this recording will be made available as soon as Zoom feels like rendering it. But if you're so excited to get started right now, on any of the features, go ahead and click this info bubble, and there's a nice little tutorial that will walk you through this specific feature so you can dive in until the team is able to post a recording of this webinar. I hope everyone stays safe, have a wonderful 2021, and look for more updates in 2022, more features about social media penetration, business hours being open, square footage of businesses to help you continue to optimize the analysis for your business. Take care, everyone, and thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thanks, Mario.
Thank you.